Hi, it's Memorial Day, May 27th, 2019, and this is the Pro and Con Show, and I'm your host, Michael James Ott. Thanks for joining me today. If you're watching from somewhere or viewing this after I recorded here live on Monday. Again, the major existence or major reason for existence of the show is to talk about the news and try to get everybody focused on the who, what, where, and when, which is the actual news, and separate or help us separate opinion and analysis from the actual news, in the hope that that will cause us all to do a better job understanding the issues, the pro and the con, the good and the bad, the for and against, and allowing us to work with our neighbors side by side, as opposed to standing on opposite sides of the street and screaming at them. I'm personally convinced that we're all a lot closer together than what we really think. We just we're and this is an accurate word, we're ignorant. Okay, that means that you don't know things. It doesn't mean that you're stupid. It doesn't mean that you can't know them. It just means that we don't. And so the problem is the current media streams. You can get streams from various places, and the way the internet works, it can kind of filter or direct information that's kind of generally is what you want to hear. But the truth very often isn't what you want to hear. There's, again, the pro and the con, the good and the bad, the for and against. And so it's important to understand these things in totality. And so today is Memorial Day, as I said. And we look at some of these websites. There's 5 of them. And so on the left is Huffington Post, and then CNN, then NPR, National Public Radio, and then Fox News, and then Breitbart. And I look through these and compare major news stories, especially if there's a major one. And very often all 5 of these channels will have a story, and we can directly compare how they're presenting it to see what kind of way that they're trying to influence people reading the information or viewing the information on their websites. Okay. Today being Memorial Day, I really want to speak to that, and fortunately for me in this conversation that I want to have, NPR has a lead story where the Army sent out a tweet and basically saying, how has serving impacted you? And they got thousands and thousands and thousands of responses. I am a veteran of the United States Navy, but I would not even begin to pretend that at least in my view, I don't think any of the service that I provided was dangerous. I was on submarines during the Cold War, but that certainly, some people may think it was kind of dangerous, but it really, for the most part, was not, and certainly doesn't come anywhere near what some of these soldiers have risked in combat areas and so on. And that's one of the things, one of the reasons why I'm doing this show is to, I'm trying to do my part to be more proactive in my citizenship. And I'm trying to encourage all of you to be more proactive, or more active, perhaps is the better word. We have a tendency to actually, to be frank, be a little bit lazy, and we elect these government officials, and then we send them off to do their jobs and represent us. But we, most of us, the vast majority of us, do very little other than occasionally complaining that they're not doing enough or not doing something well, and that's our fault. We're not participating enough in how these elected officials do their jobs, and communication would be a great thing. So one of the things that I did, just as an idea, is I recently, well, it was a few months ago, I went into my phone, and I have a smartphone, And in the contacts list, I live in Hudson, Wisconsin. It's a little office in my home. I put in the governor and the senator and the representative from my district, and they're in there together. So I started Wisconsin WI, so WI with a dash in their names and phone numbers and email addresses, so that I can, I have that information ready to contact them when there's a serious issue that I want to speak to them about. So this is these in these small ways, and when I'm talking about greater participation, I'm not talking about 50 hours a week or something like that. I'm talking more about maybe an hour a week, to understand the issues, the pro and the con, the good and the bad, the for and against. An hour a week in total with following what your representatives are proposing in Congress for legislation and so on, and seeing if you agree with that and why you might not agree and so on. But the other thing that I want to make sure we cover today is, this is Memorial Day. And just to be clear and kind of remind us all, because it's very easy for us to slip into, well, it's a federal day off. And so we can look at it, well, it's an opportunity to have a cookout with family or have guests over and maybe have an adult beverage or two and or play a baseball game or whatever. And those are all good things. I mean, bringing people together and having a good time is not a bad thing. But also, Memorial Day is, it was established for us all to take some time and remember all of the truly brave people that have given their lives, they've fallen on the battlefield for us and for the freedom that we enjoy. And it's a sobering thought, and one that I hope is not lost on most people. I hope that most people at least take some moments on Memorial Day to remember how fortunate we are that we've had hundreds of thousands of soldiers sacrifice, as Lincoln said, give the final full measure of devotion to this country and to what we stand for. So in this article, the Army sent out this tweet, and they got a response from, like I say, thousands. And of course, there were harrowing tales of trauma. I'm just picking out a few things here in this article. You can read it yourself, right? So you can go to npr.org. And then several of them talked about how they were proud to represent their country and the people and fight for their families and their friends. And that's all obviously a very positive thing. But then there were also hundreds and even thousands of tweets where they were talking about the difficulties that servicemen have. So they have post-traumatic stress disorder. They can be suicidal, depressed. Let's see what are some of the other things here that. Oh yeah, and then there's unfortunately there's a fair amount of sexual harassment in the military, and so in fact there's just parts of the story talk about a man and a woman. They're both in the military, and she was abused sexually, and brought this up to the chain of command and was ignored. And eventually was discharged from the military, and her husband, of course, was very disappointed that no action was taken against the people that were responsible for this. And so, eventually he was out of the military as well. And this is something that I don't know. I mean, certainly being in the military is an extremely stressful uh, and difficult thing for people to do. And they're doing it. They're doing it, with a lot of sacrifice and a lot of courage. And yeah, I think knowing that so many people have given their lives or been seriously maimed, if not dying on the battlefield, and then all the other things that can go with military service, especially if they've had to actually fight in a hot war scenario kind of thing. The severe depression, anxiety, isolation, PTSD, all of these things can be wrapped inside them, and it's very difficult for them. And we probably, I don't know how much more we could do, but we probably should continue to think of these people and try to figure out more and more better ways to help them and assist them with these issues that are part of the stress of serving the country. So, and that's one of the things, this is tied back into why I'm providing these short videos, is to encourage us all to be better citizens. I made a video called Resolve, and it's on the YouTube channel at Auden 2020 on YouTube. And I went to see at one of the national cemeteries, and you stand there in awe of the thousands and thousands of headstones, basically in every direction that you can see. And it really solidifies the sacrifice that these people have made, and at least for me, it builds my resolve to be a better citizen, to try to be more active in the process. I don't want to say the political process. I want to say the process of being a good citizen, of working together to make policies and laws that make sense for us all. And because in the end, the laws, they apply to all of us. And so even though a certain aspect of a law may not be ideal from my viewpoint, I have to step back and say, well, there's 340 million people, and I can understand and see why some millions of them would not agree with me on this particular fine point, and I have to allow that that therefore this law has to be kind of a compromise for all of us, right? There's 340 million people. A law that's worthwhile and can be workable for all of us is going to be a compromise of the views of millions of us. All right. Well, I guess so. I see that Facebook Live is having trouble, so I guess I'll go ahead and end the video here. I hope all of you have had a great Memorial Day wherever you are. And I guess I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.